All right, so Alondra17 asks, is there a proper way to introduce your dogs to a new baby family member? All right, so dogs and babies. This is something that we've talked about pretty extensively. We get asked about it all the time. We've made a couple videos about it before. You know, there's a couple of things you should or should not do in this case. So first and foremost, I would ask yourself, well, I want to clarify in the question, is this baby your baby or is it a family member's baby? It sounds like it could be either way based on how it's kind of described here. If this baby is not yours, your dogs do not need to interact with it, period, right? There is no way I would ever put my dogs in a situation where they're around a baby that is not mine. I don't care if it's my sister's baby. I don't care how close in relation it is. Your dogs don't need to be interacting with it. And a part of the reason for that is because I always enforce that even if it is my baby, my dogs don't interact with it for quite a while, because babies are different to dogs, right? It doesn't matter how many little kids your dog has been around. A baby makes different noises, acts differently, we act differently around it. Like it's just not something the dog can perceive in the same way, right? So because of that, I want to get the baby and the dog acclimated to each other over the course of a long period of time. So what you want to do is you want to, if the baby is yours, is when you bring that baby into your house, you want to set a designated period of time where your dog is going to just be around the child, right? With no physical contact. That means that anytime you're out with the baby, dog's gonna be in a down stay, in a bed stay, minding its own business, seeing and smelling and socializing, but not actually interacting with. The longer you do that process, the more comfortable your dog will be with that baby long term. So you wanna start that process. And then you gotta start to understand that dogs and babies, there's a couple of stages to it as well, right? You have the stage of right when you bring the baby into the house where it's new, it's making weird noises, but it's pretty much either in your arms or in like a carrier the entire time, or in a crib or something like that. That one is way easier to manage, and it's way easier for your dog to get accustomed to because nothing weird is going on, right? The next stage of the training that you're gonna be going through is when the baby starts to crawl, right? Or walk or talk or any of the above, right? You're gonna go through a couple of those stages of each time you move to the next one. So you go from just being in the carrier to crawling, right? You're gonna take a step back and you're gonna start enforcing just down stays and bed stays with the dog again, right? Then when you move into walking, you're gonna take a step back, have the dog just in down stays and bed stays around the dog. When you move to talking, you may wanna do that one more time. And you extend this process of starting with just in a stationary position, getting acclimated to the baby, then to being loose in the room without any physical interaction with the baby. Then you go to the next stage. Then you go back to stationary position around the baby, to loose and just walking around, but no physical interaction. And then, you know, the physical interaction may not even come for the first 6 months or so of you having your child home, right? And the longer you could push that process, the easier it's gonna be, and the quicker your dog is gonna get acclimated to it. But like I said, as far as, you know, when the dog is actually gonna physically interact with them, you gotta use your best judgment on your dog, you gotta use your best judgment on the baby, you just gotta keep in mind that they're different. We've seen dogs that are so unbelievably social with people that babies come along and they get sketched out by them very easily, which is why we do this process, right? The worst thing you could do in those situations is present the baby or some of the baby's things to the dog in a way where they're gonna start to perceive them as theirs, right? Me going, hey, check this thing out, is me essentially doing no different than, hey, here's a toy that's yours, or hey, here's a treat that's yours, or something like that. They can very quickly develop protectiveness, territorialness, and start to view that baby as a resource, which is what you wanna avoid by doing that process, right? At the end of the day, our kids are ours, our kids are not our dogs. I don't want my dog to be protective of my child. I don't want my dog to be guarding my child to guests and things like that. So this will help avoid any of that nonsense until the child is old enough to be able to move around and act a little less funny and act a little bit more like what a dog would see a human doing, right? So hope that helps. Take the process slow. Like I said, I don't rush this. There's no reason to rush it. Don't take that liability of doing it too quickly, because even though your dog may be fine, you know, stuff can happen so quickly. So you want to take a couple steps back, and that's a great opportunity to rework on your dog's training, rebalance relationship issues that you may be having with your dog already if you're having behavioral problems, and kind of cruise through the process that way.